Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney for the match preview against Brentford. The first time we are playing Brentford again since 1975, Larry. I just saw it popped up on Twitter a couple of days ago that the last time we did play Brentford, a guy who has been on the podcast before, in Lou Macari, scored the winner. So, new game against Brentford. We haven't played them before, in our lifetime, so it's a fresh one. It's not
Yeah,
Wolves for the
absolutely.
13th time this season.
Well, we were meant to verse them a few weeks ago, weren't we? Well, maybe about a month ago now. But that match got rescheduled, and look, it will be a tricky game. Brentford play good football, and I have to admit, I've really enjoyed watching Brentford play this season. I happen to, how sometimes you end up watching the Premier League on the weekend, Tom. Brentford seems to always be the team that's on Optus Sport whenever I seem to be strolling through, and maybe that's my weekend insomnia kicking in, but they play such positive football. They're truthfully a joy to watch. And his manager's name's eluding me, but he's done a belting job.
Well, they're a weird one, Brentford, because they do sort of play this high-pressing football, but then they've also got this physical threat in terms of the way they play, so they're almost old school. But Larry has just dropped out of the conversation. I'll see when he does come back in. There he is. They are a weird one in regards to you could almost see them playing in the championship and being successful. They're big, physical, they get around the pitch, but they also do have some technical players and sort of play the game in the right way. So they do offer some challenges. And look, they've challenged a few teams. I think they took Chelsea all the way. They obviously beat Arsenal on the first day. I think they get a draw against Liverpool at some stage. I think they do have that result in their locker. So we'll definitely dissect it a little bit more and a little bit of sort of transfer news, because there are one or two names that are popping up. I'm just looking at the calendar now. It's 18th of January, so it's not much longer left in the January transfer window if we do want to get a midfielder over the line. But we'll discuss that. But a few in the chat already, which is good to see. Josh, always good to see you, mate. Matt from the Supporters Club. Jamie over from Northern Ireland. Hope you're keeping well. Rob as well. Hope you're feeling better. Rob obviously came down with COVID, so but all reports see him to say that he is fit. So make sure you go watch It's a Football Thing. They start at 8:30 tonight. Mike, good to see you, mate. Wes, always a pleasure. And Sarah, good to see you. So, Larry, where do you want to start on this? Is obviously we'll get into the football and Man United versus Brentford in a little bit. But the first one I've got down here is Bruno Fernandez. Where do you want to start with Bruno Fernandez? Because I'm in a minority saying we should tie his contract down and it is a priority. A lot of people are saying, no, we've made this mistake before by rewarding short-term success and giving them a big contract. The reason I want to, I'd say, reward him with a new contract is I think there's probably 9 or 10 players on a higher wage than Bruno Fernandez. You went through it, and there's on transfer market type thing. They're pretty accurate in regards to the wages. I think there's 9 players who have a higher wage than Bruno Fernandez. When you do look at how players perform, that's criminal. Like Bruno Fernandez is the reason we're a top half team over the last 2 seasons, in my opinion. Now he needs to be rewarded with that. Now I do understand the mistakes we have made in the past in terms of rewarding some players after 1 or 2 good games or 1 or 2 good seasons, and we reward them with this bumper contract. Then in 2 or 3 years' time, we find ourselves in a little bit of a hole. But I truly think this is a situation where it goes back to we just need to simply reward him, because in 2 years' time, if we don't do it, he's going to kick up a stink and start looking elsewhere. And if he starts looking elsewhere, I think that's a trouble for Man United.
I'm split on this one. I think that there's a lot of time. We have to remember he is signed up until 2025, and then there's still a year option on top of that. So it is a long contract. I take your point. I think it would actually benefit United to try and get some of these top earners off the wage book when they go to negotiate with Bruno Fernandez. And the reason being, if you're negotiating right now, you're saying, well, David De Gea's on 350K a week. Paul Pogba's been offered 400K a week. Ronaldo's on 500K a week. And I think you're playing a dangerous game then if you're trying to tell Bruno Fernandez that he should be the highest earner at Manchester United. And to be honest, he could argue that. You look at his output in terms of goal contributions. We dare say, well, not even dare say, let's admit it. We wouldn't be in the Champions League if it wasn't for Bruno Fernandez. You said it, in Solskjaer's first full season in charge, it was pretty bleak for us. And he came in January and he changed our fortunes. So he'd have every right to say, I deserve to be the highest owner at this football club. Now, in saying that, I think, like I said, I think United need to get their wage bill sorted. I saw a banner going around online saying rotten top to bottom. It feels like that at the moment. And I think a priority for the new CEO, Richard Arnold, should be absolutely getting the wage book back under control. We are a big club. We should pay our players well. But I think we've gotten stuck into this situation, like you're seeing with Anthony Martial. Those are the repercussions of what you get for when you reward, I suppose, excellent performances, but maybe not world-class performances. And Bruno's been world-class. But I think there's a bit of time. Should we sort this out in a year's time? I don't think we'll be shedding any tears.
Look, I understand that, and yeah, look, I do agree with it, and I don't want to sort of jump the gun with it, but I also do look at it in terms of the way we're treating some players, and whether that be in a situation like a Donny van der Beek or a Juan Mata. Juan Mata wants to leave the club, and Man United standing in his way, not allowing that. Donny van der Beek obviously wants to leave. They're going to keep him. Dean Henderson wants to leave. Now, Dean Henderson is likely the one behind a lot of the leaks, so Man United probably try and want to punish him by keeping him. But in terms of the way we do treat some players, I think this goes along the same way of not giving him what he deserves. And we've given players big money who don't deserve it. And I just think, okay, we can have Bruno Fernandez on his current contract for another 2 or 3 years, but is Bruno Fernandez going to be happy on that contract for another 2 or 3 years when he sees players performing worse than him, earning double the money that he is? So I think that is why, yes, it's business-wise, it makes good sense to keep Bruno Fernandez on this contract for the time being and not rush it. But are we going to get the same performances from Bruno Fernandez if he's still getting his output and he sees Marcus Rashford on 200-something grand a week, or let's say Paul Pogba gets his 400 grand a week, Paul Pogba's on double the money? I'm just thinking, is Bruno Fernandez going to be able to display those same performances?
It won't drag out, Tom. Well, they've said they've put talks on hold until the end of the season. And it's really important to remember here, it's Bruno Fernandez's camp who's actually put the talks on hold. Not
I think that's quite standard. There's no manager at the moment. I think it's quite I don't think there's an issue. There's no issue from me towards Bruno Fernandez for stalling these talks. I think there's no manager. He's right to put him on hold, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course. And that's it. I'm not concerned. I think if we're here in a year's time and those talks have not, I suppose, progressed anywhere, then yeah, there might be room to be concerned. But look, Bruno Fernandez has spoken about an ambition to manage Manchester United one day. I think there's a deep-rooting love there. And I think, unless United do something seriously wrong, which if I'm being honest, I don't think we will do, then I think it'll be fine. I imagine Bruno Fernandez will be at United for a long time to come. And let's also remember, he's 27 years of age. If he sees out his current contract, he'll be, I want to say 31, 32 when that ends. So this will be his final major contract, really. So you can understand why his agent's pushing for this deal.
Yeah, no, definitely. Was a comment here from a good friend of ours, Ahmad, saying win a trophy for the club and then talk dollars, which I agree in terms of he needs to do something to reward, but he's also part of the team. I think if we go by that logic, which I agree with, well, in 2 years, we're not going to have anyone under contract because no one's going to win a trophy, so we're not going to be paying anyone. So we do need to reward him for what he is doing compared to other players. Now, again, there is no rush, but in 2 years' time, that goes quick. It'll go quick, and then we think, hang on, why didn't we sort of reward him 2 years ago type thing? So it's an interesting one, but we'll move on to sort of transfer news before we get into the Brentford match. And there are two names that have popped up. The first one, Haidara, which has been linked for about since almost Ralf Rangnick came in. He was the first name sort of linked for. He's obviously from Red Bull Leipzig. Ralf Rangnick has shown an interest, and the latest report is along the lines that Ralf Rangnick has agreed, like the actual manager, which is weird, but a verbal agreement, has agreed to deal with Red Bull Leipzig. Now, obviously, he's got all the connections. He's probably got everyone's phone number at Red Bull Leipzig, and agreed a price. Now, it will be up to Man United to sort of finalise that price and finalise the deal. But it does look like he's the number one target for Ralf Rangnick, and if Man United want to get the deal done, the deal is there in place. Now, do you expect the club to back Ralf Rangnick in that way? Or do you think this is just, again, almost the easy story, let's link him with a Red Bull Leipzig midfielder?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. He's an upgrade on what we have, and I think this is something we need to be conscious of as a fan base, and something that I've kind of been trying to go through myself. I've seen links with John McGinn over the last few days. Now, my first instinct to that, or my first reaction to that was, I like John McGinn. I think he's a bloody fine midfielder. But then I think about it and I say, okay, hold on. Is John McGinn better than what we got? Absolutely, he is. But is John McGinn world class? Does John McGinn take us to the next level in the Champions League? So that's where I've got my question marks. I think if you can increase your caliber of squad player, so with all due respect to John McGinn, who I think walks into United's midfield at the moment, I think you'd agree with that. I think if you can get to a position where John McGinn is actually a squad player, then Manchester United are exactly where they should be. And that's the issue. I think you're looking at McTominay and Fred, and I've seen previously, and the thing is, I've shifted. I think maybe as recent as 2 months ago, I would have said to you, if McTominay and Fred are our squad rotation players, Tom, I think United are in a good position. I'm actually gone a more extreme way. I'm actually thinking Fred's not good enough for Manchester United. I think McTominay is a squad player. And then I think around that, United probably need to get two midfielders. one who you can bring in and out, like a John McGinn, but I think we need an elite midfielder. I think United should be in the market for a Declan Rice or a Jude Bellingham. And those two players are going to cost you north of £100 million. But if I'm Manchester United, I'd be pulling out every stop I can to put everything to get at least one of those two players. Because if we can just sign two midfielders next season, I think that's a very successful transfer window.
Look, I don't disagree. And in terms of the two names we are obviously discussing at the moment, in terms of Haidara and McGinn, look, Haidara, I know nothing about him in terms of the 5 minutes I've done on YouTube. I will look at sort of maybe lean the discussion more towards John McGinn, because obviously seen quite a lot of him over the last couple of years, and a player I've obviously been very, very impressed with. However, I just look at it and is he world class? Is he a player to win us the Champions League or strive us forward in the Champions League? And I do look at it because, yes, he isn't a player you would put alongside Bayern Munich midfielders or Real Madrid midfielders or Manchester City midfielders. But if we go and buy a Bayern Munich midfielder or a Real Madrid midfielder, and they're a world-class player, like a Jadon Sancho, like a Rafael Varane, like a Di Maria, like an Alexis Sanchez, what have they proved at United? Why does it need to be a world-class player to take us to the next level? Why can't it just be the right player for the right fit? Do you know what I mean?
I take your point there, but I think the example you're using, like in the case of Di Maria, that was a player who, I have to be honest, like, look, I don't like how he carried on, and he's an arse wipe for that. But the reality is, Louis van Gaal didn't do himself any favors. I thought the way that we utilized Di Maria and the strengths that he brings to a football team weren't used to United's advantage. He was deployed as a striker. He was deployed as a winger. He was deployed in central midfield. He was played all over the shop. He got no level of consistency. He was then dropped to the bench. I just thought United, and look, when Di Maria first came to United, he looked brilliant. So I think that's the thing that you can, and the other side to this is we signed Varane. Varane was a bloody brilliant midfielder. He came well touted, and he was the signing where, if you can recall, he's that midfielder. You put him with Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, United will have the best midfield in European football. It didn't pan out that way. So you'll always have an instance where even when you have a world-class caliber player, it doesn't always work out, unfortunately. We've seen that with Alexis Sanchez recently. So I think with any signing, you're going to have that risk. But I still think United's ambition should always be to get the best of the best. And the reality is, Tom, if we want to win the Premier League, forget the Champions League at the moment. If we want to win the Premier League, you got to think Chelsea, City, and Liverpool are all ahead of us. So how do we make strides forward to make ourselves better, but overtake them in the process? That's where United are. We're not in a position to be getting a John McGinn or an Haidara. I think we need to be going for the cream of the crop.
Where I would disagree there, and let's say I'm not putting John McGinn top of my list, but it'd be very close to it in regards to the players that I know. It'd almost be top of the list. So I really do like him as a footballer. I do look at it though, and what's one thing we lack in our squad, or what's one frustration you have in our squad every time we lose a game, like it be an Aston Villa or like it be against the Wolves? What's a real frustration you see with players? Not in regards to the business side of things, just what don't you see on the field that you're not happy with?
I guess heart, work rate.
There's John McGinn. He comes in and provides that. So we're looking at, we need world-class players to do this or to win this type of game or to win this tactical battle. No, we need someone to get a tackling. We need someone to run around. I've seen people look at his age or, he'll be coming into the, sort of he's in his peak now. So if we give him a contract, he'll be at the end of his peak. And I just thought, well, for me, he's the fittest player in the Premier League. He's Carlos Tevez in midfield. He's non-stop running around for 90 minutes. And if you look at, and of course, if we have Fred in midfield, you're not just going, okay, let's buy a player who's better than Fred, just for the sake of having someone better than Fred. No, you do need to obviously go out and get the best you possibly can. But let's say Manchester City or Man United playing Liverpool. Could you see Fred scoring a goal or Fred having an impact in the game? You'd think probably not. If you're watching Liverpool against Aston Villa, you'd expect John McGinn, he could make a difference here.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying I'm all for signing John McGinn, but I'm not signing John McGinn if I can get Declan Rice. I'd rather, if it's an option of do you go for Declan Rice or John McGinn, I'm going all out for the Englishman. But if it's a case of should we get John McGinn, absolutely we should. But I think we should be shipping out Fred, getting John McGinn and Declan Rice. Because I'm saying if John McGinn's our rotational squad player, my God, we'd be going from a bang average midfield to one of the best in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, look, it's an argument I'm sure we'll be having for the next couple of weeks, a couple of months.
If our transfer budget is 150 million, let's say it's 150 million next summer. Get John McGinn and Declan Rice. 100 million for Declan, 40 for John McGinn. I think everyone's happy then. Sorted.
Yeah, Larry's in charge of Manchester United transfers, but I think there is a little bit of weight with the McGinn one in regards. He's obviously been a long-term target in terms of Sir Alex Ferguson and obviously what impact Darren Fletcher does have at the club. Time will tell. And he's one with Pochettino. Let's say Pochettino was Tottenham manager. It wouldn't shock you if John McGinn went from Aston Villa to Tottenham and did sort of good things under Pochettino. So I think there is something in it. But if I was betting in January, I think something might happen with Haidara. However, I think he's away at the AFCON at the moment, so it'd be stupid for United to look at doing a deal now. And then he does his ACL in the AFCON final type thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So I don't think there is any rush there, but we will move on. We do have a football match, Larry. Brentford, as I said, away at Brentford. Obviously, this was supposed to be the second fixture against them this season, but the first one was postponed. What are you thinking going into this? Okay, I'm not looking at the table at the moment anymore, Larry. I don't know where we are. I don't know what a win puts us. I don't know what a loss does to us. I don't know where Brentford are. I assume we're above Brentford. I assume they're in the bottom half somewhere. But what are you thinking going into this? We go in every week saying this is a must-win. We have to turn the season around now. Very rarely does that happen, but I'm just going to say the same thing again. Yeah, it's must-win. We need to turn our season around now.
It is a must-win. I think Ronaldo being back's massive. Just given his comments last week, I think I'm looking for a big game from the Portuguese. And yeah, United need to turn it around. We keep saying it, so I'm like, it's crunch game. It's a crunch game.
We sound like Harry Maguire.
Hey,
we sound like Harry Maguire.
Yeah, we really do sound like Harry Maguire, but I think we're not the ones on the pitch. I think it's time for these players to put the money where their mouths are and actually start performing on the pitch. I've seen Scott McTominay say it. I've seen Harry Maguire say it. I've now seen Ronaldo say we need to be finishing top 3 as an absolute minimum. Show us. Get it done on the pitch.
Well, speaking of Harry Maguire, I'll bring up your starting 11, and you have decided, I wouldn't say drop because he hasn't been playing, but you haven't included Harry Maguire. So talk us through your starting 11 here. One, obviously, no Diogo Dalot. This is obviously before team news has come out and Ralph Rangnick's press conference, but just talk me through your thinking.
Yeah, no Diogo Dalot. Look, if I'm being honest, I thought he starts the leakage that is the 2 goals United concede. Not all his fault, but I think he got found out defensively, which we all feared was inevitable, and it was, and that's what happened. So, look, I'm going back with Wan-Bissaka. I know he leaves a lot to be desired on the ball, but United struggle to keep clean sheets. So I'm going with someone who's going to help us keep a clean sheet. I'm staying with Lindelof Varane. Look, Varane was really poor last game, but in saying that, I'm going to give Varane a bit of a pass. I think he's been better than his performances over what we've seen so far have been good over how bad they've been. So I'm giving him another chance. In saying that, if Varane puts in another subpar performance like he did against Aston Villa, then yes, his position should be called into question. I've gone back to Luke Shaw. Like I'm saying with Dalot, I think Tellez just defensive errors, and Luke Shaw needs to put better work rate in, but I think he's more reliable defensively, rightly or wrongly. Look, the midfield 3, I felt this is how United actually lined up against Aston Villa. You had Matic sitting in the 6, Fred a little bit further forward, and Bruno deploying more of an 8 rather than a 10 position. I've gone McTominay in the 6. I don't think he's a natural fit there, but Matic can't play more than 30 minutes, let alone 2 games in a week. And I think you can't put Fred in the hole because you're just exposing him. His touch is so poor. And unfortunately, I'm going with Fred due to a lack of options rather than choosing him. I would personally like to go for Donny van de Beek in this position, but I don't think Ralph fancies it. So I'm doing what I think Ralph will do. And I think the front 3, Elanga keeps his spot. He's the only player who performed well in the attacking positions against Villa. Well, so did Mason Greenwood, and that's why he keeps his spot. I thought Jadon Sancho was extremely poor. And I think Ronaldo comes back in. Cavani, another subpar performance. Ronaldo comes back in. Ronaldo will score goals, and Ronaldo will win us the football game.
Yeah, no, well, fingers crossed he does. Obviously, he does walk back into the team. I think, look, as much as I love Cavani, I think he's been off it a little bit in recent weeks. But I'll just show you mine, and I'll start on the midfield discussion. I've switched McTominay and Fred. And look, I agree with Fred's limitations in there. I don't want to play him in that role. And I would maybe see this lining up more as a 4-2-3-1 with McTominay coming and sitting with Fred. But what we did see against Aston Villa was Bruno a little bit deeper in a sort of old-fashioned 4-3-3. You mentioned Donny van de Beek. I was going to put Donny van de Beek where Fred was. I just couldn't bring myself towards doing it because Ralph Rangnick just simply won't do it. But I wouldn't be shocked. I just have a feeling there could be this one where something does change. And Donny van de Beek does get the nod at how that shapes up the balance in midfield, where that means McTominay is deeper and Donny van de Beek is more advanced. I'm not sure, but I just wouldn't be shocked if we see the Dutchman for some reason.
Elanga. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I just think what he's good at, what I've been very impressed with, not impressed with him, I've been very happy with him compared to what I've seen from Marcus Rashford. Now, Marcus Rashford is better than Anthony Elanga. Anthony Elanga is working harder, though, which is why I'm sort of happy with it, because I'm not happy with Marcus Rashford's work rate. If Anthony Elanga was putting that performance in for an Aston Villa or for a Brentford or for a Liverpool, would you want to go out and sign Anthony Elanga? No, there's nothing there that you see from a player. Let's go spend 50 million on that player. And that's not to criticise him at all. And look, I wouldn't cry at all if he starts this match and keeps starting as for Man United. But all I'm seeing at the moment, it's definitely not a criticism. I'm seeing good, hard, solid shift on the left-hand side. And that, at the moment, is what we need, because some players aren't doing that on the left. But I think ultimately sometimes it does come down and you need a little bit of quality. And I think Jadon Sancho is obviously a far better footballer than Anthony Elanga. Now, if Anthony Elanga starts for his work rate over there, great stuff. But I just don't think... I like him, but I just don't see anything special there. I'd love to see him start every game because he deserves it in regards to what he's doing. But I just don't see anything special. And you don't have to be special to play for Manchester United. But I think Jadon Sancho maybe does have that little bit of an X factor. You can see him popping up with an assist or a goal. You can see Greenwood popping up with a goal. Could you see Elanga? Like, it would be, oh, geez, Elanga scored. I didn't see that one coming.
You're very harsh on Elanga. I call it like saying Sancho's a far better footballer. I think Elanga's technically sound. I don't think
he's obviously a good footballer, but he's not at the level of Sancho in regards to football.
Yeah. I take what you're saying, but Elanga's only played less than 10 first-team games for Manchester United, so he needs time.
Yeah.
And I think in what he's shown, he's got the ability to beat a man. The thing with Sancho, Tom, is, man, I hate to say it, I know, look, he's not rapid. He never has been, but he's really struggling to beat his man. And for this tricky winger that he's supposed to be, he's really struggling with that. Now, we've seen some glimpses where he did score a goal against Burnley, but I thought it was awful defense by Burnley. It wasn't Jadon Sancho being absolutely brilliant. And he's been good in patches, and I thought his best football, in my opinion, has actually come from the right. I feel sorry for Mason Greenwood. I'd love to deploy him centrally, but with Ronaldo and Cavani there, he's just not going to get a sniff in. Now, would I put Sancho over Greenwood? To be honest, on form, no, I can't do it. So that's why I guess I'm saying Elanga. And I think if you give Elanga a good run of games, I'm telling you, he's a traditional inverted winger. He can come in, he can score goals. If you've watched him win the under-23s, he's technically sound. He's a good dribbler. I'm not going to say he's Anthony Martial level dribbler, but he is a good dribbler. And I think if you drop him now, given the level of performance he has shown, Sancho comes on, does absolutely nothing and stinks out the place. I think you'd be sending the wrong message.
What do you think at this point from Ahmad, which is along the lines of my thinking in regards to how my brain was thinking right at the end of the Aston Villa match and almost maybe the lasting impression of Anthony Elanga? But he brings it up here. First up for Elanga, last game started a tie midway through the second half. Should have been subbed much earlier. Will be fantastic in play off the bench, just not in the 88th minute. So could you make a case, if you're looking at my starting 11 there, and giving Jadon Sancho, big money signing, who does need a chance as well. He's been in and out of the team throughout this season. Now, yes, his performances in the last couple of weeks haven't been great, but he's still along the lines of needing a chance to prove himself. Give him that first hour. If it's not working, then you have the fresh legs of Anthony Elanga, because Ahmad's right saying he has tired when he does get that start. I think it happened against young boys as well, I think.
All right, well, if we're taking that approach, then bench Mason Greenwood and put Sancho on the right, because I can't justify benching Elanga, who's been our best attacking player over the last 2 games.
Yeah, no, look, it's hard. And again, I don't want to be too critical of Anthony Elanga. If he starts, fantastic. And it's something I do want to see, the attributes he does bring compared to Marcus Rashford. Who knows? We haven't even discussed Marcus Rashford. If we're a betting man, likely he's going to start the match. But my last one here, and I'll just bring the team off the screen, but Harry Maguire, you didn't include him. I think he comes back into the team. I think there's 3 big changes. I think Ronaldo comes in for Cavani. I think McTominay obviously walks back into the team. I'm not sure who for. But the other one is Harry Maguire. I think now this isn't a Harry Maguire should be captain or shouldn't be captain or should be playing or shouldn't be playing. I just look at the performance against, or not the performance, but the way we did finish the match against Aston Villa, conceding 2 goals. I do look at the threat Brentford do post, especially with James Toney up front. And I just look at it and think it's going to be a battle. And I'd much rather Harry Maguire in a battle with Toney than Victor Lindelof.
I take your point. I don't think Ralph's having him. Look, that's just my personal opinion. I could be dead wrong. I just don't think Ralph's having Harry Maguire. And I think that's why when he got asked that question around the captaincy, I think he was diplomatic about it. He was political about it. He said there's no need to change the captain. Well, you don't have to give him the armband if he doesn't start. So, I don't think he fancies him. I think he looks at Harry Maguire and I think he can see what we can all see, and that's he causes us to concede goals. And I agree with that. Look, if he starts, I'm rooting for him, and I hope he does well. But he's been so poor all season, I just can't justify it.
Look, he has been poor, and in regards to form, yes, there is that argument which I'd agree with. But you say in terms of likely to concede goals, in terms of the way Brentford are going to play, and especially Tony, if he plays through the middle, which very likely is going to happen, who would you much rather in a battle, Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof? Honest answer.
Yeah, but that's where you got to get Varane.
That's where Brentford are going to score goals.
Yeah, I take your point, but I think that's where United have to be intelligent and see which areas is Tony occupying, and then you need to get Varane on him. I think, I think with Harry Maguire, and even his physicality, Tom, hasn't looked brilliant this season. And Tony's got the ability. Tony's got pace, like Tony can. So if you're going to use that argument, Tony could arguably get in behind Harry Maguire. So
I saw Ollie Watkins jog past Victor Lindelof 3 times against Aston Villa. I don't think he's an absolute speedman. And look, I think Victor Lindelof has been quite good this season. I think he's risen to the challenge of Rafael Varane. But I think as much hate as Harry Maguire gets, and I hate coming on here trying to defend him every week. And he has been bad. He's been our worst player by a mile this season. But ultimately, he does have attributes that some of our defenders don't have. And I think he comes back into the team. A lot of people will hate that, and a lot of people, unfortunately, not here, but a lot of people hopefully they will want him to fail. They'll want to see mistakes to sort of back up their argument. And obviously not. I don't want to see that. I want to see United keep a clean sheet and win the game. But it will be interesting. Anything else before the Brentford match? Any sort of thing we've missed out on?
Not really. I think it's just I'm just keen to see what happens with Anthony Martial. We've seen the reports now suggest that now whether they're true or not is another thing. But there's some story about where does Martial come in? There's talk is the board potentially talking to our friend Nick saying we want to get Martial back into the football picture just from a PR perspective. I don't know. I hope that's not true because whether what Martial said is true or not, look, you have to lean with the side of the manager. I think you always have to do that. And I think my concern with this one is if we see Martial on the bench again, I think that talks to a much bigger problem at Manchester United.
Well, one Frenchman we haven't discussed on this episode yet, Paul Pogba, back in training, back obviously in a proper training session. He's obviously part of the everyone hates at the moment, which has been happening for a while, but has these winning team photos.
Team nonsense. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Look, if you're upset about that, if you physically get upset over players having a smile at training, give up. Like players at the bottom of the league smile at training. That's part of it. Like,
no, I know. I think it's just it's one of those capture the mood things. It's like Donny van de Beek. Yeah. Do you see that 50 appearances?
Yeah. Oh no, I understand that.
What the hell, man? The guy's probably played a combination of like 10 games. And he just got, congrats on 50 appearances. Like, please, mate, you're taking the piss. And I think I get it. Like, I'm with you. It doesn't upset me, but you kind of just roll your eyes. Did you see Sancho's comment under Ronaldo's post? He's like, first time you felt a win in a while. Hope you're okay, bro, or something like that. Oh, dear.
No, but that's the thing. I think in terms of that, you said you roll your eyes. That's my reaction. If I don't like the post, I go, gee, shouldn't have done that. But people get physically upset about it, and they start throwing their toys out of the pram and blaming it on defense. Think, hang on, they need to have a game at training.
If you're getting physically upset over that, just put on a porno, masturbate, and remember that you're a teenager and it's okay. Seriously.
Well, the one we haven't discussed is Paul Pogba, like in terms of what brought up this winning team photo. And if he's training, I'm not going to say he's match fit, but a couple of weeks ago, Ralph Rangnick was saying he's going to be 6 or 7 weeks away. Now he's back training. Could you see maybe a curveball and Paul Pogba being involved, or it's still sort of a little bit too soon?
I'd love to see it.
When you're saying a couple of weeks ago he shouldn't play for Man United again?
That's what I'm saying. I just said I hate myself for saying it, but Fred and McTominay are that shit that I'm happy to let the snake play in the midfield. I want Manchester United, Tom, I just want Manchester United to win football games. I really do not give a shit who wears the shirt anymore. I'm at the point where I can see top fours at risk. I don't care. You want to bring back Di Maria on loan for the rest of the season. If it's going to help us win games, I'll cop it sweet. I just want to see United win football games. Paul Pogba is going to help us do that. I think you put him in one of those 2 pivot positions. He doesn't like that position, but you know what? Tough luck for Paul Pogba. I think you deploy him there, let him get on the ball, let him occupy the ball from deep, and let someone else do the donkey work. And I think United can win more football games with Paul Pogba playing than with him not playing, because unfortunately, Fred and McTominay are that bad that you have to look at Paul Pogba and say he brings everything that they don't.
I think you're harsh on McTominay. Yes, Paul Pogba's a better footballer than McTominay, but who's more productive for Manchester United, Paul Pogba or Scott McTominay? We had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. Said if you had to give a contract to one player now, Paul Pogba or Scott McTominay, you agreed you'd give it to Scott McTominay.
I do agree with that. And I like the way he plays, but he's inconsistent and there's a level to his performance. He performs against Burnley, but then he struggles against Wolves. You know why he struggles against Wolves? Because he came up against a midfield that's actually a top 10 in the
He's
Premier
also been
League.
man of the match against Barcelona, PSG, and Manchester City.
Yeah, but we played defensively in those football matches. Now you can and that's what I'm saying. That there is a role for Scott McTominay. I'm not coming on here and saying Scott McTominay shouldn't be a United player. What I'm saying is Fred shouldn't be a United player. Scott McTominay should be a squad player. Because in games where you are versing Barcelona, McTominay can sit deep and he can do an absolute great job for you. But I think in a game where United need to get on the ball like this game, he's not the answer for you. This is where you need a Paul Pogba, someone who's got the ability to put through a pass through the defense, someone who's got the vision, the touch to spread the ball quickly, as clumsy as he can be at times, and has an ability to put his foot over the ball as well. So,
right, after all this negativity, we'll wrap it up with a score prediction. I'm assuming you're going 3-0 Brentford after this one.
Yeah, feels like it. Look, they got smacked against Liverpool, but they're the sort of team that can turn up and upset United. I can see a draw. I really could see a 1-1 draw in this game. I'm going to try and be an optimist. I'm going to say 2-1 United.
Yeah, I think when you have no idea, when I've got no idea about a result and just hope United win, the standard answer has to be 2-1 United. You assume Ronaldo, but again, it's Man United's...
Ronaldo and an own goal.
Well, it's almost their Achilles heel. You got to think, okay, Ronaldo is in town, Brentford's biggest game in, I don't know how long, in decades type thing. It's going to be a huge game. They're going to be up for it. Man United have sort of shown they can't deal with that pressure at times, so we will need Ronaldo's experience to hopefully get us over the line. But we'll just wrap up with one last question, Larry. I've just got here from Matt. Most important question of the night. When are you taking your Christmas tree down?
I've been nagged to take that tree down for 2 weeks. I'm going to be entirely honest with you, Matt. I can't be bothered. And I'll probably do it on a weekend in March. I just cannot be asked. I do not care.
Do it maybe
I might
next
just
time.
leave it till Christmas next year.
Next time Scott McTominay scores a goal, keep it up until McTominay scores.
Yeah,
it'll be down this week against Brentford.
Who, McTominay? Is McTominay... So, you know what? I just slagged him off. He's going to score a goal this game.
Brentford's the type of game we're back him to score again. So it'll be end to end, I think.
Because it's a bottom 10 Premier League side. Scott McTominay's bread and butter. He'll score for sure.
Okay, we'll definitely be addressing the Scotsman on Thursday for our match review. Obviously, a Thursday morning kickoff here at a decent time, but we'll be back on Thursday night. Hopefully, everyone has enjoyed the video and the match preview and a little bit of transfer chat. If you did, please do leave a like on the video. And if you are new, if you could subscribe, that would be great. It takes 1 second on your phone. And until then, Larry, chat to you Thursday.
Chat then. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.